Go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the San Francisco Playhouse. Yeah, if we'd been in our theater, there would have been a little cheer. So let's try that again. Welcome, everybody, to the San Francisco Playhouse. I'm Bill English. I'm the artistic director, and welcome to our Monday night series called Zoomlets. It's an idea that somehow came to one of us that we would do a little series of short play readings that were sort of run by the director driven. So the audience gets a chance to be the fly on the wall at like a first reading. They've been going really well, and I'm hoping you all will enjoy this one. We're very thrilled tonight to be presenting Walls Come Tumbling Down by Genevieve, Jessee. And the play tonight will be directed by Darryl V. Jones. So Darryl and the actors, let's all come onto the screen here magically by the miracle of Zoom and our engineer, Donnie Gilliland. Is everybody there? Hi, Darryl.
Hi.
How you doing? Yeah, I think everybody looks like everybody's there.
All right, great.
Would you mind introducing the actors to everyone and then talk a little bit about the play? And
Sure. I'm happy to do so. And once again, I'm Darryl B. Jones. And let's see. We have Lee Rondon Davis is joining us, and they are playing the role of Bernice. Lee is one of the foremost sought-after actors, dramaturges, and theater activists in the Bay Area. They work with Shotgun Players, Ubuntu Theater Project, Crowded Fire, and more. And I've had the pleasure of working with them on the Shotgun Players LHT, Lorraine Hansberry production of Kill Move Paradise. And I'm going to let Lee tell you a little bit more about themselves.
Thank you, Darryl. I feel like you've covered everything. But again, I'm Lee. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am originally from New York City, but my family moved to the Bay Area when I was about 11. So I'm a bi-coastal kid, and I'm a theater maker here in the Bay Area. I love this community, and I'm so excited to share this work with you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. All right, and Lee is sitting next to her very handsome partner, Kenny Scott, is playing the role of Henry. Look at those teeth. Smile again. Come on, show us those teeth.
Big smile.
All right. Kenny, too, is a much sought-after local theater artist. He, too, works with Shotgun Players and Crowded Fire. I saw him in the production that they were in together recently. I can't remember the name. What was it? Help me out.
It was Ink Baby.
Ink Baby, yes. They were terrific. And we worked together on a reading for the Lorraine Hansberry Theater of Dot. Kenny, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, I'm Kenny Scott. I'm born here in Oakland, raised on the East Coast, and I've been back here for a few years now. And I love the theater community here, and I'm excited to join you all for this reading.
Great. And last, but certainly not least, Dwayne Clay is playing the role of Jaleel. Now, Dwayne's performance in the Shotgun Lorraine Hansberry Theater production of Kill Move Paradise earned him a place in the 2019 San Francisco Chronicle list of outstanding moments in Bay Area theater, where they singled out his wonderful performance. He is a student at Berkeley High School, and you're shooting a movie right now, aren't you?
Yes, well, it's a film, it's a docu-film with Destiny Arts. And yes, I'm an upcoming 11th grader. I'm 16. Yes, I'm from Oakland, and I'm very excited to do this and work with Darryl once again, as well as Lee. So yes, I'm excited.
All right, great. So this is a wonderful team of actors coming together to do this, and it's wonderful. We've all had the opportunity to work together before, and that's what makes this so much fun, getting to work with people that over and over again, and they begin to feel like family. All right, so I think it's time for me to talk a little bit about the play. And I will do that. It's that time, isn't it, Bill?
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely.
All right.
I'm going to disappear here.
Okay. Bill is going to come back because Bill is also playing a role. He's playing the TV announcer. I'm sorry, Bill. I should introduce you. So there's Bill English. Bill is playing the TV announcer. Bill is the artistic director of San Francisco Playhouse.
I got promoted to the TV announcer. Though.
That's right. All right.
Okay, you guys enjoy the reading. I will be audible only.
Thanks. I have to say that when I read this play, I was actually shocked that I read that it was 10 minutes, because after reading it, I felt like I had read I had read in so much, so many themes, so taking a simple true event, real life event, and putting human beings at the core of that real life event and illuminating all of the pain, the suffering, the questions, the quandaries that this event mirrors. It happens over and over again in African American communities throughout the country. So let me tell you about it. The Walls Come Tumbling Down is a brilliant, beautiful, short 10-minute piece by Genevieve, Jessee. And the themes that resonated with me as I read it, and I'm talking to the actors too, I have to remember this, the actors, is that the two different systems of justice and media coverage that exist in America for homicides in Black communities versus white ones. That's a theme that resonates in the play, and when we read, I'm going to ask us to look for the moments or the words or that bring that to the fore. Another one, the destruction and subsequent gentrification of historically Black neighborhoods and projects that were initially established to segregate Blacks. This is something that's in the news now, of course, because I want to say this. This is a Black Lives Matter play in that it deals with African American Black lives, young men being killed and being murdered. And in this case, it's not at the hands of the police, but in this case, it's violence that happens within these segregated communities that were initially set up to segregate Blacks and to house them so that there would be a workforce for the big cities, but they didn't want the Blacks living within the white community, so they created projects. But historically, these projects have not been tended to. And the crimes that are committed within these projects oftentimes go unreported, or when they are reported, they go unsolved. So this cycle of violence and fear of the police and policing it continues within these communities. So that's one of the things that this play looks at. The lack of interest in preserving, maintaining, or effectively maintaining law and order in these neighborhoods and projects. And then last, the lack of interest in preserving or serving these Black neighborhoods. So I think actually there's some overlap there, and I might have said the same thing in a couple of different ways, but that's generally where we're going to be focusing with this play. Through our research and an article provided by Lee, the wonderful dramaturg, we learned that the play was inspired by the KQED article titled The Forgotten Two Deaths on the Streets of Potrero Hill by Alex Emslie, that was published August 4th, 2015, in which he stated, Donald Trump didn't tweet about the killings of Prince Johnson or Jamar Samuel. Hillary Clinton didn't ask why San Francisco hadn't deported someone to prevent their deaths. California senators Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein didn't offer the city any advice after the 2 Black men were shot to death. Police didn't flood the area immediately after they were shot, and no press conferences were called. All that attention was devoted to the tragic fatal shooting of Kate Steinle on July 1st as she walked with her father on Pier 14 on San Francisco's waterfront. 2 days before that, and a short drive south, Prince Johnson, 33, was found bleeding to death from gunshot wounds outside a row house in the Potrero Terrace public housing development. On Independence Day, Jamar Samuel, 26, was gunned down on the same sidewalk. End of quote. So that was the genesis or the catalyst for Genevieve writing this play. Lee, do you want to add anything? Because I think that Genevieve has carried this theme forward into the diaspora cycle retitled the rendering cycle.
Yeah, I mean, so I worked as the dramaturg on that production of the rendering cycle, formerly known as the diaspora cycle. You were exactly right. At Playground just a couple weeks ago, and in part of my dramaturgical work, I was doing some research on some of Genevieve's other works. And yes, this play is a short play that she wrote inspired by those 2 murders of Prince Johnson and what's the other young man's name?
Prince Johnson and Jamar Samuel.
Jamar Samuels. I'm sorry about that. So, you know, I think that major props to Genevieve in that she does a really beautiful job of looking at complex issues facing Black communities, and also sort of bringing light to the disparities in coverage and conversations about that. And I think that what's interesting about this piece is that it's not a play about Black on Black crime. Like right now in this Black Lives Matter movement, we're hearing a lot of folks who are who don't necessarily understand what this movement is about, using Black on Black crime as a argument against the Black Lives movement, or to try and detract from it. And I think that what's interesting about cases like these, based on research that I had to do for Kill Move Paradise and in other conversations about the movement, is that crime within your own race, so Black on Black, white on white, those crime rates are going to be higher than inter-crime rates, so like white on Black. So, but people often misuse that data to say like, well, Black on Black crime is more prevalent and is a bigger issue, and uses it to kind of dismiss the argument against police forces using violence against Black people. And really what we're talking about is that the Black Lives Matter movement is about the way Black people are treated disproportionately differently than other communities, and that disproportionately Black and Latinx communities experience the brunt of police brutality and police violence. So, in telling stories like this, it's not to say that like we don't value our own lives within the Black community. That's a totally separate conversation. So yes. I think that's really important to keep in mind as we go into this reading.
Yes, yes, I totally agree, and I hope I didn't.
No.
I didn't mean to say that this was a play about Black on Black crime, because it's actually it even though there's a kernel, because there was a Black on Black crime committed, possibly, but it's more about the lack of attention that's been given to these historically African American communities, how they've just been left to deteriorate and fall apart, and people are just like they're invisible. It's like being the invisible man. Well, that's the invisible community, and then what happens is then, oh well, it's falling down. It's no more. It's served its purpose. It's no longer useful. Let's just gentrify it. Let's get rid. Rather than how can we preserve it? How can we preserve the richness and the history and just make it a better place for and a community that still serves the African American community. So I think that's that will take us into reading the play. How about that? Shall we begin? I like to begin with the actors. Can we do this one thing? I know we're probably short on time because we're talking a lot, but let's breathe. Exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Okay. All right, folks. Here we go. Walls Come Tumbling Down. A play in 10 minutes by Genevieve, Jessee. Cast of characters: Bernice, Black woman in her 30s, Jaleel's mother. Henry, Black man in his 30s, Jaleel's father. Jaleel, Black man in his teens, Bernice and Henry's son. TV announcer: white, any gender and age. Setting: an apartment home in the Potrero Hill Projects, 2017. Henry and Bernice's apartment is filled with boxes. They go through the remaining items. Henry moves expeditiously to complete the task at hand. Bernice lingers. A TV drones on in the background.
2 years after the tragic shooting of Catherine Steinle on the San Francisco waterfront, Kate's Law passes in the Senate 55-42. All the details next on the 6 o'clock news.
Bernice turns TV off. She sorts through the papers that sit atop, carefully considering each one.
You gonna look at every piece of paper before you decide to pack it?
Well, how am I supposed to know what I want to keep if I don't look at it?
I know what you want to keep, all of it.
I got 33 years of memories in this place. Mama and Daddy left it to me. I'm not throwing it in the trash because it suits you or anybody else.
Come on now, Bernice.
Don't start with me.
You've been dragging tail all day. We got to get this done.
Keep hassling me and you won't have to worry about my tail for a long time.
You know just as well as I do, this place falling apart at the seams.
Everybody talking about how old it is. My mama was born in 68. Maybe we ought to tear her down and build a new one too.
These people gonna be here in the morning to take all this away. We got to be ready.
All I'm saying is, it's old, but it still work just fine.
If you say so. I need a couple more boxes. I'm gonna run down to the office.
All right.
When I get back, I'm gonna have to go through that last room.
Henry exits. Bernice continues looking through papers and such. She hears stirring.
Henry, you back already?
Enter Jaleel.
Nah, it's me, mama.
JJ?
The one and only. Everybody love me like cheese and macaroni.
Cheeks looking like cherries, just got a pinch up. Ooh.
No, I'm still hurt from the last time. I can't tell if you're trying to pinch them off or take them clean off my face.
I would not do that. I love that face too much.
Jaleel plops down on the couch. He props his feet up on the coffee table.
Boy, if you don't get those shoes off my table.
My bad, Ma.
I hope you ain't going out there people's houses acting like you ain't got no home training.
Where's the remote?
Bernice clicks on the TV with remote.
We go live to the closing remarks of Congressman Whipledge.
We have taken decisive action to ensure not one more family suffers the loss of their child to gun violence. All across the nation, we speak her name to remember this beautiful young woman.
Live from Capitol Hill, I'm...
Bernice turns the TV off.
You know what they say. All news is bad news.
That's no news is good news.
Same difference.
Jaleel looks around, smells the air.
No Sunday dinner? Thought I'd be right on time.
I can fix you something right quick.
That's all right. I'm not hungry no way.
You need to eat more. You don't take care of yourself.
I got you for that.
I won't always be here. No day is promised.
Here you go.
That's your problem, boy. You never listen. You got all the answers.
Now you on my back too?
You always been smart, but if you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. You gotta think bigger than this. What you see around you, there is more for you. I know the kind of man you can be.
I'm making moves, mama. Look at me. Take a long look. I'm not just a man. I'm the man. Act like you know, mama.
All right, Jaleel.
Don't be mad at me. It wasn't my fault.
What?
Missing church.
Missing? Oh,
It's my back to them.
baby.
Talked to the pastor, getting some work around the church maybe. Talked about doing something different, something good.
He told me.
See, and I mean that. I mean all that.
I know.
Are you not mad?
Never was, baby. Who did this?
Nah. Let's let that go. All that. That's done.
It's the only way that I can move forward with all. I gotta know, baby.
Getting late.
Jaleel goes to leave.
I'm sorry. Don't leave like this, please.
Jaleel surveys house.
You all packed up.
Got to.
Where are you gonna go?
We're tearing all of this down. Say it's the oldest projects in San Francisco. If something lasts a long time, that means I can depend on it.
Think you and Pop deserve something new?
Everybody keeps saying that. But the devil you know.
What happens after they tear it down?
Say we all get to come back. It'll be all different. The streets and everything. Say we won't be cut off from the rest of the city no more. The cutting off wasn't in the streets, far as I'm concerned. It was in their minds, hearts. They gonna redevelop that too?
If the streets let out of here, maybe some of the dudes running in them can find another path.
I like the way you put that, baby.
You like that? One time, Mr. Dunbar told me I had a way with words.
He was right. And you right.
So then you gotta be happy. But why it feel like you ain't?
Sometimes I think this is the only thing that remembers. And me, I remember.
Uh-huh. You like a elephant. That's the one, right? What they say, elephant never forgets. You don't forget nothing. Still talking about that candy I took out your purse when I was 4 years old. You my old elephant lady.
Who you calling old?
You elephant lady?
You always make me laugh.
So I can see that smile. You got a good smile. No matter what's going on, when I see it, I know everything's gonna be all right. That's why I came. Remember that?
Hey,
Henry returns with boxes.
Oh, there's your father. He'll be so happy.
She goes towards the front door where Henry has just entered. She thinks Jaleel follows behind.
Henry, I couldn't believe who was in this.
Bernice turns to find that Jaleel is not behind her. She backtracks to find he's vanished.
JJ?
Bernice, come sit down.
He was just right.
Let me handle that room.
We were talking.
Jaleel's gone, baby. You know that.
He was here.
He's always going to be here. Wherever we are, they can't take him away from us.
They already did. They let him lay there bleeding to death and nobody said nothing. Everybody just went on like it never even happened, but he was here. I remember. These walls remember. I labored 30 hours to bring him here, held his precious little body in my arms and dreamed the world for him. Remember? I will never forget that. His laugh and his jokes, the way he used to make me smile, how he looked out for his sisters. He was here. Why won't the world cry for him? And the poor boy, not even a week before him, in the same spot, the same piece of bloody sidewalk covered in bullets. You want to tear something down? Tear down those streets that keep taking our boys. They don't cry for us and they don't care because they think this is where we belong. This is like this whole place is just a tomb. And maybe it is. But he left his mark on it. On us.
That's what we hold on to.
When they tear it down, they're tearing down all I got left of him.
He doesn't live here. Here and here. Don't you feel it? We got each other, you know, the girls, and hoping that this thing comes out right. And that's the last boy laying on that block, wishing it had come out different. That's what I put my mind on. The hoping. JJ would want that.
I know it.
He come to you again? He always been your baby. Always gonna be. They can tear down all of San Francisco, hell, the world, and he'll still be right there. Hanging on to your skirt even now. So we go on, baby, as best we can. Don't mean it don't hurt like hell, but we go on with the hoping, all we can do. I'll finish up here. Why don't you rest a while?
No. I gotta do it. And I don't want to hear nothing about throwing anything out.
I do so solemnly swear.
And nothing but my tail, neither.
No, now that I can't promise. You got a good smile.
A good smile.
End of play. All right, good job. Nice job, folks. Let me get my face back on. All right. Really, really good, really lovely. Like I said, for me, it's 10 minutes, but there's so much packed into that 10 minutes. It's just so well constructed. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. But let's hear a little bit about your impressions from that read through. What's coming to mind? Any thoughts? Like,
for me, I was really struck by Vernice's struggle of like not wanting to let go of the house as it holds so many memories for her from both her own youth and growing up there and also where she raised her son and started her own family, but also like this place being a place that reminds her of death and, you know, and the cycle of death that keeps happening in this community. And so being torn between wanting to preserve this place, but also wanting to get rid of it because of the harm that has happened here. And I think that's so heartbreaking and challenging. And yeah, so that really stuck out with me this time around.
Great. Thank you. Dwayne, do you have some? I'm sorry, I'll go to Kenny. He's sitting right next to Lee. Kenny.
Yeah, one of the things that really resonated with me is definitely the idea of the ones you love and lose, the fact that you carry them with you. And I have a close relative who passed away, and almost immediately the bank took her house. This was a place where I had spent all my Christmases and had known my whole life. And just like that, it is renovated and belongs to a new family, and a new, like, wealthier family. And it's like, but I still have those memories, and I still have her smile and her laugh, and I can still hold on to that.
Great, great. You know, the audience is watching this, which is theoretically this is being presented as sort of like a first read through, um, although we've morphed it a little bit. But one of the things that we do as actors and directors is when we take on a role, we're always looking for the way that we can get ourselves closer to that role. I like to say that and I teach that I encourage people to find the character within themselves. And that just means we're always looking for how we personalize the role and can relate to it. And so that's something I want to talk about too. Dwayne, I want to hear some of your thoughts as you read through, and then I'd like you to talk a little bit about maybe your experiences with um, and how you relate to the role.
Well, for me, it was like, like I was reliving the same, like the roles that I played. It's very interesting because most of the roles I played a Black young male that has been killed. And like, I don't find that as a consequence. I mean, as a, what do you say? As a coincidence. I just feel like it was just very interesting reliving the same thing that I hear about and what's going on now. Like, the Black Lives Matter movement is happening now, and this is what we're trying to fight for in this time. And like, everything is just coming at once. And I just put all of that into this reading, how everything just connected and how it connected to me as a young male. Like, I thought of me and my mom in this situation. Like, we could just be going on and just having a regular conversation and having dinner, and then I could be out, and then all of a sudden something happens to me. So it's like, we never know when is our last time, our last day, and our last time speaking with someone. I just related. In this scene, every person I had someone related to in my household. So I just thought of how that connected to me, and how I could be leaving and something happening to me, or just anything around that time. And with me, I think what Darryl was referring to, I have with the police, I have been stopped before and put in handcuffs, and that was a very traumatizing moment for me, because like, I didn't think, as we all think, I didn't think I was fitting a description that they were looking for, like, I thought I was just safe, just doing my own thing and just going. But, once they seen the color, then they immediately attacked. And that just, I don't know, it just stuck with me. And just working with the different roles that I played and working with Darryl, he most definitely helped me express the feeling and the trauma that I felt in each role that I have played, and to make it more real, and for me to understand more just about my role and get into it.
Good. Thank you, Dwayne. I hope I don't. I feel a little guilty, and I don't want to be. I'm not exploiting your trauma. It's just, and I didn't know about your trauma when I cast you in Kill Move Paradise. But I think the point for me is that look at this face. Look at this sweet young face. This young man in Berkeley, in the streets of Berkeley, was thrown down by the police because he fit the description, and they were so wrong. But we fit the description. That's a slightly separate issue. So let's get back to this. Where were there sections in the play where you were a little uncertain as to what really was happening? And I have a section where I'm not sure, but what about you guys? Go ahead, Dwayne.
Okay, so when I actually went over the play again before I read it, before we actually just did this, and I first thought when we were going through it, I first thought like, he didn't know that he was passed on, that he had passed away and all these things happened. But then once I went over it again, it seemed like he knew that he was gone and he wanted to comfort his mother. And there was a line that struck out to me. I'm not, if I find it, then I will come back to it. But there was a point in time where I found it and he was like, no, like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. He wasn't telling her, like, I'm gone, but everything is okay and you don't have to worry about, like, what's going on. Like, he was trying to comfort her as if he knew he was gone and with everything that was going on. And I was very confused before if they did know and what was going on. So that was a very confusing time for me, but, I'm not sure if I'm exactly right. So.
All right, well, that we're going to go back and look at that section. So let's think about that. All right, Lee and Kenny.
Oh, I think for me is something that I was a little unsure about was what happened around Jaleel missing church and missing his baptism. Was that the day that he was murdered? Was that near, the time he was murdered? Like, I wasn't sure what that church reference meant and where that related to the time of Jaleel's death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have questioned that too. So, and in second, we're going to go back and just look at that whole section again. And Kenny,
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, questions?
No, I think they both hit all, the few points of sections of the play that I was unsure about. I don't know that I have another thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll
right.
also add, like, the moment where Vernice sees Jaleel anew, does she recognize that he's a ghost in that moment? Or like he's not really there, but then they have conversation, the conversation she has again later with Henry makes it seem like she thought he was there. So I'm like wondering what her mental space is, where she's going in her mind for that particular section.
Right. Great. And those are sections that I too question. And as we know, what would happen, we would start to rehearse and we would try different approaches. We would try it with one intention and see what that feels like. And I think sometimes too what happens is you have these questions the first time you read things, and then as you read it over and over again, certain lines pop out, little storytelling lines that say, I get it now. I see how this is going. And I think that's already started to happen with us a little bit. But let's go back. I do want to say, okay, I want to say that something else jumped out at me as I've been contemplating. What do they know? Does Vernice know that he's a ghost initially, or does she sort of forget that he's dead? And does Jaleel know that he's a ghost? And then this time I heard for the first time Kenny's line at the end, when he says, "He come to you again."
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time that line jumped out at me, and that was an important kind of story to, this is not the first time. It has happened before. So with that information, how does that inform you, Lee, about deciding whether it might affect that, or does she just when she every time she sees him, she's so in the moment of, oh, it's my baby, my son, he's alive, that she loses sight of the fact that he's dead. But then the question for me is then, well, is that seeing him anew, it doesn't, is that her being reminded? And it doesn't seem like that's what's happening there. It seems like the seeing him anew is seeing this man who is changing, who might have been a gangbanger, but is turning his life, has been trying to turn his life around. That's kind of what I started to see. What are your thoughts about that?
No, I mean, I thought something similar for that line about talking to the pastor and doing something different, something good. It just had me wondering what was he doing before. That's all. But
Right.
I didn't want to
But we,
read much into it.
well, right, we don't know, and maybe
Yeah.
I'm being a bit, I'm calling him a gangbanger. But the fact, I'll tell you why I went there, because then a little later, he's like, nah, we ain't got to go into all that, and it's like, but I might be adding something that's not there. But whatever he did, it's something that now she sees that he's changed, and that's when we start talking about, yeah, I'm going to church, I'm talking to the pastor, I'm trying to get my act together, but it was all of those intentions were cut short. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. But um, thoughts, and then we're going to read. We're going to go back and want to go back and read and try and see what with that information what it does.
I think Kenny had a thing.
Sure.
I mean, I had a thought based on what you just said, you know, about putting it into your head that what if he was a gangbanger? What if he was, you know, these other things? But it's really interesting because I remember when I was a teenager, you know, like I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't like a hoodlum or anything, but like I wasn't always doing what I needed to do, you know. And there's a point where when you're younger, when you're a kid, maybe you're having fun, maybe you're staying out late with your friends after school, not really doing anything harmful, but at some point you start to grow and your parents recognize that in you.
Mhm.
And so it's
Right.
interesting that when we're hearing this story or like a million other stories every day in the news and thinking, you know, we're putting all these other, you know, negative thoughts on these young people. You know, we shouldn't just assume that, you know, when if he was doing something different now or something good, we shouldn't just automatically assume that what he was doing before was something terrible. You know, he might have been just any normal kid. Maybe he cut class a couple times and that was the worst thing he ever did in his life.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that. That's so important. That
Yeah.
is so important.
The
That you
implicit
pointed.
bias is so real.
Yeah.
You know, like the things that we're taught to believe about Blackness and the Black identity. And, you know, if a white kid was skipping classes or hanging out with, you know, rougher kids, they're just like, oh, they're going through a phase. But if it's, you know, I think a lot of times if it's a Black kid who's hanging out with a different crowd, you know, there's a criminalizing aspect to it. And
Yes.
for me, you know, as you mentioned that, and we've been talking about that, seeing him anew, I think is really related to what Kenny is saying, is like seeing him like, oh, right. Like you're a young man now, you're making choices on your own. And like the decisions you make and the people you hang out with have bigger implications and repercussions on your life. You
So
know,
you're,
I can't tell you what to do anymore or keep you in the house anymore, you know? And I think I've never been a parent, but you know, I know my mom definitely had that experience with me. And
so the seeing him anew is just that you're not it's simplifying. You're not a baby. You're not that little boy that I had. I'm seeing a man now. I see a man, and I see a man leading who's doing good stuff,
Mhm.
trying to do good stuff. Um, there is a slight hint in the text that he changed direction, but we don't know exactly what that direction change is. And thank you for pointing out that it doesn't mean that he was a gangbanger, because I think that when I went the research that I did, there was never any clear there wasn't a clear connection with these two young men to any uh, gangs or anything. It wasn't clear cut, and you know it was hard to get the information. So thank you. That's so important that you pointed that out. And that illuminates the play differently for me,
Mhm.
and that's what this whole process is about. So let's go back. I wrote down where I wanted to start again. That was going to be Oh, can we go back to the page 3, the announcer's line? Because I think after that, it's when they start to have their conversation, if I'm correct.
It's like the last of the announcer's line, right?
Yeah, yeah. We could just pick it up from live from Capitol Hill.
Okay. Live. And are you going to run page 3 through what? Through where?
I'm going to do page 3 until Jaleel exits.
Okay, good. Okay, here we
I'm
go.
also going to encourage you guys to to help us really hear and maybe think about some of this. This time, I'm curious. Um, uh, uh, Wayne, you're now aware that you are there to comfort her, right? And so your intention is you've shown up because you know that she's going through a hard time right now, right? So you're okay. And Lee, tell me about what adjustment might you make?
I think as opposed to sort of loading the language on page 4 with like, oh, you're gone, being more like, oh no, like you're growing up. I think it's more filled with like love and being present as opposed to seeing the trauma or the negative aspects. So
Okay.
trying something that.
And I have one last question, but we're running out of time, so I'm going to say she's desperate to know something. She's desperate to know, and we have talked about what that desperation is. She wants to know, because she says, "I have to know in order to move on."
Mm-hmm.
What is that for you, Lee? What is that thing she has to know?
Mm-hmm. I like this is such a short process that I have no idea what the specific thing is, but
All
like,
right. Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine. And we will continue to work and find it.
yeah.
I'm inclined to think because we talked about it the other day. What that D, she says, "I need to know." Never was, baby. Who? And then there's a beat, and she says, "Who? Di." That's all we've got. Who? Di. And we talked about, does that mean who did it? Who died? Um, let's play it this time. Who did it? And you just really got to know who did it. So that implies that at some point she recognizes that he's alive. I mean, that he's dead.
Okay.
But again, we could be going in the wrong direction, and if we continue to rehearse, we would fix it. So let's go from where we are, page 3.
Are you ready, everybody?
You ready?
Live from Capitol Hill.
Bernice turns the TV off.
You know what they say, all news is bad news.
That's no news, it's good news.
Same difference.
Sorry. Jaleel looks around, smells the air.
No Sunday dinner? Thought I'd be right on time.
I can fix you something right quick.
That's all right. I'm not hungry anyway.
You need to eat more. You don't take care of yourself.
I got you for that.
I won't always be here. No day is promised.
Here you go.
See, that's your problem, boy. You never listen. You got all the answers.
Now you on my back too?
You always been smart. But if you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. You gotta think bigger than this. What you see around you, there's more for you. I know the kind of man you can be.
I'm making moves, mama. Look at me. Take a long look. I'm not just a man. I'm the man. Act like you know, mama.
All right, Jaleel.
Don't be mad at me. It wasn't my fault.
What?
Missing church.
Missing? Oh,
My baptism.
baby.
Talked to the pastor about getting some good work around the church, maybe. Talked about doing something different. Something good.
He told me.
See? And I mean that. I mean all that.
I know.
So you're not mad?
Never was, baby. Who did it?
Nah. Let's let that go. All that. That's done.
It's the only way I can figure out.
I didn't come here for that.
I got to know.
Getting late.
I'm sorry. Don't leave like this, please.
You all packed up.
Got to.
Go.
They tearing all this down. Say it's the oldest projects in San Francisco. If something lasts a long time, that means I can depend on it.
Think your pops deserve something new?
Everybody keeps saying that. But the devil you know.
What happens after they tear it down?
Say we all get to come back. It'll all be different. The streets and everything. Say we won't be cut off from the rest of the city no more. The cutting off wasn't in the streets as far as I'm concerned. It was in their minds, hearts. They gonna redevelop that too?
If the streets led out of here, maybe some of the dudes running in them can find another path.
I like the way you put that, baby.
You like that? One time, Mr. Dunbar told me I had a way with words.
He was right. And you right.
So then you ought to be happy. But why it look like you ain't?
Sometimes I think this place is the only thing that remembers. And me, I remember.
Uh-huh. You like a elephant. That's the one, right? What they say, elephants never forget. You don't forget nothing. Still talking about that candy I took out your purse when I was 4 years old. You my old elephant lady.
Who are you
Okay,
calling old?
We're going to stop there but because some interesting things happened, and I do want to go back. And talk that was really interesting. How did that talk about how that felt, those adjustments that you made, and what discoveries you made based on those adjustments? Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like processing a little bit, but I think
Yeah.
that there was like an interesting like emotional softness to Vernice that I liked in connecting with him, and like almost like a reckoning for her, you know, and like a healing, a part of a healing process for her, and that like I'm gonna let go of all the frustrations I had with you as a kid and see you as a man now,
Mhm.
and be grateful for the ways in which you tried to grow and take control of your life. And then I think it's also really fed that urgency into like, I need to know who did this to you so I can get justice, because you were getting yourself on the right path and then someone disrupted that, and that is the person I'm angry at. And like that felt like the beginning of something for me that I would love to dig into
Great.
more.
Great. Well, and we started to see that, and I would love to explore that more. What about you, Dwayne? You had a weight, a heaviness that you didn't have the first time.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit more, I had to calm down a little bit. Like I couldn't be doing extra and just going. Like I felt like I needed to calm down and be a little bit more mellower, just so I can make sure that I can be that person to comfort my mother while she's going through this hard time. So it's like, you know, when you're trying to comfort somebody, I don't think you're gonna be like, oh, you know, hey, da, 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 da. But like when you're trying to just be and support, then I feel like that looks like a little bit more chill and loving and just mellow. So,
Great. And as we said, look, we tried some things. We experimented, and we all know that we would continue. And by the time we opened, we'd have a clear path for ourselves. But this is how we work. We try, we experiment, we ask questions, and there was so much here that's so wonderful. And it leaves so much for the actors and the directors to work through. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning.
That was just terrific, all of you. It was very moving, very sweet and tragic. In the sort of just a quick, what would you work on next, Dwayne?
As a for my role,
Yes.
I would continue to look into the story that this was about. Like I felt like I need that emotional like setting. Like I need to be there and I need to understand what was going on. And I feel like we just need to talk about it as a group as well, so we can know, like we can answer the questions that we all had. So then we can continue to just go in the same direction and understand how each other feel and what the other character is supposed to feel. And as just for me, I just feel like I want to stay a little bit more calm and put a little bit of myself in there, like how my caring self and loving and yes.
Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I love Dwayne because Dwayne is such an amazing note taker, and like just like the grounded, like present energy that you just gave me in that second read, like really makes me want to dig into like where I can find those emotional shifts and like the emotional connection with, you know, the ghost of my son, but then also like the fire and thinking about the present for Vernice and tapping into those things and finding ways to like carry that energy through. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, sweetie.
Smacking.
Yeah.
What about you, Kenny?
You know,
Anything come to mind? A little thing?
yeah. So one of the things I would love to think about more is what it means to be a person who's dealing with trauma and heartbreak while also having to be the rock for someone else's trauma and heartbreak, and the difficulties that come with that, and how complex that really is. That's what I'd be interested in, in diving into.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. That was fantastic. Darryl, any what would be the one thing you would work on in the next half an hour if we had it?
I mean, if in the next half hour, if we were going to continue today, I think I would just go back and I would probably just go back and look at those sections that we just read one more time and say, okay, like we did, so what did you learn from this? Do you have any new thoughts? Let's read it again. Let's try something different this time and see what that illuminates. And then I'd let them go home and rest on it and think about it for themselves and come back and try something else the next time.
Right.
Or the next time, or we might, if we decided at the end of today that, oh yeah, this is it, this is what we want, then I would send them off and say, okay, now build on that and come back.
On that thing that we figured out.
Yep.
Well, thank you all so much. That was just terrific. That was just great work, everybody. And thank you all for tuning in to the Zoomlets at San Francisco Playhouse. This Thursday on our Fireside Chat, we're going to have Peter Nachtrieb, who is the San Francisco Playhouse, been produced all over the country. And next Monday, we're going to be doing a play by Teresa Rebeck called Great to See You, which will start Pam and John Walker and the luminous Susie Damilano. So hope you will all tune in for Thursdays and Mondays. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you who made a donation when you got your ticket. You'll have an opportunity to do that again afterwards. And it does help. We are paying everyone as a part of this process. So it helps us continue doing the Zoomlets. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.